We've started the recording, have we? I believe we have. Oh, sweet to go. Oh, I'm cutting that. Definitely. Oh, my chest hurt then. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Yes, guys, welcome back to the channel. I am joined yet again with Reece for another brilliant Urban Legends episode, but we brought another guest with us. It is the man, the myth, the legend. It's Chae. He's just brought out some new merch about a week or two ago now, so be sure to go and check that out. We'll link not just his channel, but obviously the merch store in the description. Chae, how are you, mate?
Oh, Connor, mate. First of all, appreciate the love on that one. I have not had an entrance like that before, so I appreciate the love. Thank you as well for the merch. I've got a new merch brand that's just been launched. It's called White Wings, so it's kind of the official merch store for WBW, but its own brand as well. Mate, I have been absolutely grand. How about you? How have you guys been?
Sweet as.
As we're recording right now, it's literally snowing, and I'm shook.
Yeah.
I know.
I don't know if it's snowing where you guys are, but I'm in Nottingham and it's snowing right now, and I'm shook, basically.
Yeah, it was snowing about an hour ago here as well. It came down quite hard as well.
Yeah, we've had 2 showers of it now. I can't believe it, actually, to be honest with you. Like, I looked out the window one minute and it's quite sunny, then the next minute it's snowing.
Global warming, man.
As you can tell by my dress sense, when I went on a run earlier, it was sunny and warm. Came back in housework. I look out the window. I'm like, sweet Jesus.
Well, that is England. That is English weather for you boys. Get all the seasons in one day.
Isn't there that Prince song? Sometimes it snows in April, or is it? I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's put that one up.
I probably just made that up.
Yeah, I think you have. I'm not gonna lie.
True. I'm actually going to prove it. I'm going to prove this.
Oh my god!
What? Now I'm gonna have to cry.
I'm proving this.
Sometimes it snows in April. Why do I feel like that's familiar off of something?
Yeah, say.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing content. Just watching.
This is the levels we're going to now.
Just watching Connor search on his phone.
Yeah, sometimes it snows in April.
All right, you can have that.
It's a legit song. I found it.
Oh, I'm gonna have to listen to that then afterwards.
As soon as this recording's done, I'm whacking it on.
Absolutely. You got to put a link down below now because I think everyone's going to want to watch that one.
Yeah, Spotify link.
I can't believe that's actually a song.
Now
let's get back into what we're actually going to do, which is this week's Urban Legends. Last week, when we had Charlie join us, I did the Nain Rouge from Detroit and the Alaskan Triangle from Alaska. This week, it's Reece's turn. Reece, take it on, man.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so because you did Alaska last week as one of your 2 states, I thought I'd pick the other non-mainland states. So I went with Hawaii, and obviously I say I'm going to pick, and as do you, we say what states we're going to pick at the end of the episode, just to, leave the viewers wondering. This week I'll be doing Hawaii first, and then one from North Dakota as well. But this one's actually really famous, this Hawaiian one. And I feel like you might have heard of it before, Connor, given you have a penchant for sort of having some background about these things before I even talk about them. But give it enough of a build-up. So the Hawaiian one is called the Night Marchers. He's nodding. Right, there we go.
Okay.
So I'm just going to read what I wrote, how I understood the story. So they carry torches, and they're dead, by the way. They're like dead soldiers that are ghosts. So they're not zombies, they're ghosts. And they carry torches, and there's a big group of them, and they frequent sacred grounds and places in Hawaii. So they're ghost soldiers who fought over the years in numerous wars. They're peaceful until you encroach on sacred lands. If they get a look at you, you're dead. The only way to avoid death is by stripping and lying belly down on the floor to show respect, but do not make eye contact. There is another way to be spared too, but we'll get onto that in a couple of the stories. So one I read that I wasn't particularly convinced about, a very quick one. So in Honolulu, which is I think one of the biggest places in Hawaii, there was a hotel. This is in 2012. A hotel security camera supposedly caught a night marcher back in 2012. So they have all these paths along the islands where they sort of go, and apparently they were caught on camera back in 2012. And a cleaner was working that night, and then turned up dead the next day. So it's a bit, but yeah, no names. I'm not sure about that one, but a very much more detailed story now. So there was a Japanese man who had been born in Hawaii, so he's of Japanese descent. So he was fully aware of this legend beforehand, because it's a very famous one passed down the generations of Hawaiian-born people. But he and his friend had spent a day at the beach, very far north, which is where a lot of the sacred grounds are, and had been having such a good day that time got away from them, and they were driving home. It got very dark. There was no one else about, no other cars on the road. His friend really wanted to have a wee, and so asked the man to pull over. After deliberation, he eventually did, but his friend never reappeared from the darkness. So the man went out to search for his missing pal, but then he saw torches in the distance and a big procession of ghosts, and sort of drumming on sort of like a conch shell. And these ghosts were all armed with spears and very sort of old traditional soldier dressing. And being aware of this legend, he decided to hide until they passed. He gave himself away, though, when he saw someone in the procession in modern clothing. It was his friend, but his friend sort of was vacant, and he was so shocked that he revealed himself. So he made a dart for the car, but the night marchers were too fast. His life flashed before his eyes, but the drumming on the conch shells stopped and silence descended. Can you tell I've been teaching kids how to write stories recently? One ghost emerged from the crowd. It looked like his father, his dead father. "He's mine," he said. "He's mine." And he kept repeating this. And his father then disappeared back into the crowd. The man took his chance and ran to the car and drove away. And that is basically the only other way you can survive, apart from, getting on your belly and stripping. Well, in the reverse order. Is if you happen to be in the bloodline of one of the night marchers, then you'll be spared as well. And so he obviously got out of there, and he reported his pal missing, but they never found out what happened to his mate. So just slight more general bit of information about these chaps. So they walk in these paths where battles were fought over the years, and will only attack people that sort of get in their way or encroach on their land. So they don't deviate just to go and harm people. They do it if certain people are in the wrong place at the wrong time. But those are the night marchers. Yeah, I'm interested to see what people think about this one. I think it's good. It's an interesting story, but I feel like it might be torn to shreds here, like we always do.
No, I wouldn't do such a thing, Reece.
What do you think, Chae?
I mean, I think that's a whole load of BS right there. I ain't never heard so much BS in my life. Here's the thing. I believe in ghosts. I believe that there's spirits and things like that. Or maybe not necessarily ghosts, but I definitely believe that there's spirits out there, right? I mean, I don't get that. Hawaii is a small country. I mean, surely, if that happened throughout the war, pretty much everyone who's there has a bloodline relative in this pack of people, right? Or ghosts. So therefore, I feel like they can't kill anyone at this point, but we're very limited on how many people they can actually get. So I feel like in believability, I'm going to give it like a 1, maybe.
Ooh.
And I'm being honest. I just can't see how any of that's true. Like how this one guy just managed to survive. He saw his friend walking past, and with the first one as well. If it was on CCTV, has anyone seen the CCTV?
No, exactly. No. That's all I read, and then I tried finding this CCTV. Nothing. That's all they said. Oh, yeah, we've got it on CCTV. False promises. Yeah, I feel like Connor. I feel like you're with Chae on that one. Any higher than a 1 on believability?
See, I want to believe it because I've heard the story so many times, but told in so many different ways.
Yeah.
From even if you look at some like even Hawaiian programs or Hawaiian films, they even talk about it. And I want to believe it's a story that I want to believe because it's like so sacred to the place of Hawaii as well, and it's like the forefathers and stuff like this. But yeah, it's a lot of bollocks.
It's like Harry Potter, isn't it? You want it to be real,
Yeah.
but it just never is. You always hope for that letter at year 7.
I'm gonna score it. I'll be a bit more because I've heard a few different stories and versions. I'll give it a 2 on believability. Scareability 1. There's nothing scary about it.
Yeah.
Ooh. What do you think, Chae?
I concur. 1 for scareability.
Oh, bloody yeah! One of the biggest legends, and we've totally ripped it apart there. Yeah, because I think on the scareability, I think because they don't go out their way to harm people as well. It's not like they're like these bloodthirsty lads. You know, they just don't want their land desecrated by. I think it's mainly in other sort of general stories about them. It's like it's silly tourists that have gone missing. But
yeah, that's always like that's how I've always heard it. It's been like people not from Hawaii, maybe from mainland America or other travellers who have gone there, and it's been like a disrespectful thing that they've done. That's why, that's why you're getting a bit more of a higher score from me on believability. But yeah,
I do kind of get that point. But how old is the story? Do we know roughly?
Oh, hundreds of years old.
Yeah, it's been sort of passed down for
years.
Because the only reason I say that is because native is they Hawaiians? Is that the correct term?
Yeah. So yeah.
They are very traditional and they believe in a lot of kind of spiritual stuff. So I wonder if it might have been something to scare tourists from staying away from the kind of protected areas.
Yeah. Yes. Good. Yeah. Exactly.
Very good. Very good. Very much based.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Debunked.
Debunked. Okay. Yeah. So night march has been.
Let's hope your next one's a bit better for you.
I think they're more like famous and sort of, like all the locals know about it sort of stories are like the ones that just get shat on here. But yeah, I always seem to pick like a really random state as well. So I picked North Dakota, which is like, well, I actually wrote a bit.
That way, and that way.
Well, this story is called Frozen Stiff and Alive. And this is an actual true story. So North Dakota is, the north half of USA, literally right by the Canadian border. Yeah. So right at the top of USA. And obviously, it can get very cold up there. And obviously, America's basically like the size of a continent. So they have all kinds of different weather all over the country. And being so far north, North Dakota has some extremely cold temperatures at times. And I annoyingly when I was doing this research and I got so into it, there was like conflicting reports that it was in Minnesota or North Dakota, but I was like, oh, so I looked on a map and they like both border each other, so it must have been sort of on the border between those two states. So I was like, I'm keeping it as North Dakota because it's a sick story. So in January 1981, a teenager called Jean Hilliard was driving back from a friend's house in the snow, but her car slipped into a ditch. The weather was minus 22 degrees, but rather cold. She decided to try and walk back to her friend's house rather than wait out in the car and just potentially just freeze to death in the car. She wasn't really dressed for such extreme weather, however. Her friend's house was 2 miles back, so she hadn't made it very far on this car journey. So she thought she'd go back to her friend's. She made it to his driveway around 1 a.m., but then collapsed, and her friend was already asleep. She was not discovered until 7 a.m., so she was out unconscious for 6 hours. Her friend discovered her when he got up and took her to the hospital. And apparently he had to, because it was, such like a sort of arse end of nowhere place, it would just be quicker to take her to the hospital rather than call an ambulance. So apparently he had to load her diagonally into the car because she was literally frozen solid. Like, she was so cold that he couldn't bend her. So she was literally like frozen solid, minus 22 degrees. You can see that. But so when she was first brought into hospital, she did still have a heartbeat of 12 beats per minute. But they tried to stick a needle in her as well, and it wouldn't pierce the skin because she was so frozen. But in a sort of miracle, she started to thaw, not like the superhero.
Not the hammer.
Yeah, not Chris Hemsworth and all that. No, they said so. She was starting to thaw. It was obviously really serious. Her parents came to hospital, and the doctors were like, "Okay, she's thawing, but she will have frostbite. Like, she's gonna lose. She's at least gonna lose some fingers, maybe a limb." But even the frostbite went. And after a total of 49 days in hospital, she walked out completely unscathed in a sort of permanent sense. Obviously, it must have been all horrible, but after 49 days, she essentially walked out of there with no lasting effects from that whole ordeal. And apparently, she remembers the whole thing up until collapsing outside her friend's house and then sort of coming to in hospital. So it was like she had been cryogenically frozen like Fry from Futurama. Apparently her organs were fine because she had alcohol in her system. So I'm not sure drink driving laws were in place back then. Driving originally, which is a bit sus.
She's on my kind of wave.
Yeah, she was drunk driving, so that might be why she slid off the road. But who knows? But moral of the story: if you're going to get caught out in minus 22 degrees,
Bring your
make
jacket.
sure you're hammered. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get
drunk and just collapse.
But yeah, no, it's sort of like a miracle story, and it was something a bit different to what we've had previously on here. So I was really quite interested in this one, and it was out in the newspaper. There's not too many photos because obviously it was like the 80s, like very early 80s. If it happened now, like a mate probably would have taken, taking a selfie with her before you got her in the car. Yeah. But yeah, there's an actual date, there's a name, it was in the paper. This actually happened, and she survived those temperatures. And not only did she survive, but she came out completely unscathed with all her limbs, all her fingers. I think she just went into a sort of dormant state and managed to survive. It's absolutely mental. And it's not like she was found quickly either. She spent over 6 hours in that weather. It's mental. But yeah, what do we think, lads?
Well, we said at the start of this it would be hard to get a 10 on believability or scalability. But I think you've done it because it's a true story. So it's a 10 on believability because it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've housed it. I'm not happy.
That's cheating, though, isn't it?
Well, there's obviously like all
Either
these, there's all these theories, you know, like how she survived and stuff. Because it is just basically she should have died. Basically, she should have had hypothermia and died, but just somehow didn't.
Well, I think like because if you think about alcohol and like snow and things like that now, the alcohol would dissolve the ice and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
To a certain degree, anyway. So if it's in her bloodstream, because obviously it literally travels through your blood, that was probably what's keeping her warm, and like you said with the organs, like it kept her going because it was so warm, which is why her heart was starting to beat. But like how there's a particular type of frog, I can't remember what it is, but it freezes in the winter, and then like after 6 months it will unthaw itself and then carry on, and it beats really slow heartbeats. So maybe that's kind of what happened. It just froze her outside.
Maybe she's part frog.
So what you're saying is she might shag frogs.
I didn't say that. Okay.
You insinuate
Yeah,
it.
Princess and the Frog. It could have been a spell. All right, I didn't say that.
Bloody hell.
Uh,
I should have named it. We called it The Princess and the Frog.
Yeah. The thing is that I wouldn't rate it scary for me though, because in a way I kind of see it's a positive to know. Well, at least if I'm drunk enough and it's cold, I might have a good chance of surviving. So
Yeah.
it's actually not a scary story. It would be scarier if she didn't survive.
I suppose the scariness bit would be for the mate who discovered her sort of.
Yeah, that would be weird.
Like a big lollipop on the driveway.
Yeah.
I said I wanted an ice cube in my drink. This is taking the piss.
That must have felt weird though, picking her up like.
Yeah, that would have been weird.
Yeah. Like
and heavy.
Yeah.
Super heavy. Like, yeah, it took a while to get her in the car as well. So yeah, there was also like her being out, and then I don't imagine it was just like, oh, bang in the car. I imagine it was.
See, this is the thing. He had put a diagonal in the car. Right. I've had an idea. Lay her across the back seat. She's not like 6 foot.
Yeah.
But she could be like 5'5", which would be wider than a car.
Yeah. And she couldn't bend at all. Like, she was literally frozen solids. So we couldn't even bend the knees, you know. She was just, you know.
You should have had a truck though. If he's living out in the middle of nowhere, you should have had a truck in it. You just be able to put her in the back.
Yeah,
you know them big like American pickups.
Pickup truck.
Yeah. Pickup truck.
So yeah, what 10 for believability because you shit out it. I'd say a 5 for scariness because it's like that would be a scary situation to be in, but it's not that scary.
Yeah, I think once she's in the hospital, you're sort of chilling.
Yeah.
It's so chilling. Yeah. Yeah.
I've got a quick one for you then. I'll give you a very quick. It's the world's scariest short story. Let me know what you think, all right? This man was sitting in a room all alone. He was the last person on Earth. Someone knocked at the door.
You had me then as well.
I don't know why I'm so hooked there for like 7 seconds. Rah, the Martians have turned up.
They're here. That would honestly that would scare me. That's what I would consider scary.
It's like the worst ones when like sitting at home and you know you're alone and it's like late at night and there's a knock on something. You're there going, no,
no, go away. Yeah.
Leave me alone.
Right, if you want the money, it's probably down the side of the sofa. I'll help you look. Actually, I'll meet you at the sofa.
One side, I'll take the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what's the consensus on scare? Like,
for me, it's a 5 scariness.
You agree, Chae?
No, I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it a 2.
A 2.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this harshness from Chae.
The
It's not
reason
easy.
being though is because that, to me, people getting hypothermia and things like that. It's such a common thing in its entirety. You think about the amount of people that go through that within a year around the world. So that aspect of being cold and dying of hypothermia and things doesn't necessarily scare me. I just see it's the same way as just dying, I suppose.
Mm.
So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So I think that's quick math.
That's
3.5 out of 10. Take the average there.
well, when I actually
Yeah,
do
it's
sort
quick,
of a league table for all these fucking things, I will have to go to Reece to get the average scores that we've given each one, so I can put it on there. It'll just, I'll go, Reece, I can't work out the average. You'll go 3.29 recurring.
I don't think we'll have a 3.29 recurring. I think we'd have to have a lot of guests on at once.
Just keep on doing it, keep on collabing with people, and then just keep on saying the same story until you get a better average.
So Reece, this is one thing that we never do. We never ask the person who writes the story to give a rating. So what would you rate it?
I would give it a 9 for believability, just because, I don't know, I just feel weird about giving it a 10. And then scarability, I'm sort of with Chae, I would have given it a 3. So yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay, so I've got to pick mine for the next time out, yeah?
Yeah, what are your states?
I'll finish half of you off, which sounds mad in my head. South Dakota. South Dakota. So then that's done.
The Dakotas are out the way.
The Dakotas are finished.
Goodbye.
Then
What about Carolina or Alabama?
I'll go Carolina.
There's North Carolina, South Carolina as well.
North Carolina.
Fair play.
So
Nice.
I've got South Dakota, North Carolina on the next one. Chae, thank you for coming on.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. As always. Appreciate it as always, guys. Light it up. And remember, wherever it is you're lighting up, make sure it's positive. Cheese.
Reece, thank you. I'll probably see you in the next couple of days with another fucking video that we got to do. Please like, subscribe, hit that bell button, because why not? And peace.